Episode 4 coming at you. And without further ado, not only a friend, a colleague, a coworker, a business partner, it's all in one. Full bundle.
All in one.
Anup Sharma, ladies and gentlemen, and soon to be Dr. Anup Sharma. How's that feel, man?
Feels good, man. A couple of years, but we're getting
couple years. You're on your way.
Yeah,
Why is it? Here's something actually I wanted to ask you on air too. How come like physical therapists don't get the doctor title?
Right. So
what's up with that?
We don't have a PhD.
Here, bring yourself in a little.
We don't have a PhD. We have a DPT. So there's a little bit of a difference between the two of those. So if you have a PhD, like a medical doctor, like we have Hector. Right. So he has a PhD and a medical degree, so he's an MD. And they're more inclined to be doctors because they can prescribe medicine and stuff like that. We don't prescribe meds. Yeah. We can tell you, oh, take an aspirin, take a Motrin, something of that sort. But we can't go ahead and prescribe like Oxycontin and things like that. So
it all comes down to your ability to prescribe medication.
Right.
But there's some professions where you still get the doctor title, like being a superintendent.
Of like, yeah, so if they
you know what I mean,
like
they call our superintendent was Dr. Paste, you know, and nobody called him Mister. I'm sure he had a PhD in business or administration or something, but why is it that some retain that?
So
is that just a gray area, maybe?
For one, physical therapists can be called doctors, right? Mm-hmm. The thing is, they don't want to confuse the term of what we have with a medical professional. So if a patient comes in and sees me and calls me a doctor, well, they can't misinterpret what I do to be what their actual doctor does. Now, there's also like points where their actual doctor might take offense. Like if you go in and say, oh, my doctor at therapy said this, well, their actual doctor might say, well, they're not a doctor, I'm a doctor, you know? So it's kind of like, it's a pissing contest between actual doctors and what we do. Another thing is like, when you call someone a doctor, you create that void, right? You create a wall between us. So it's like me and you sitting here, there's a wall between us. Right. And we can't talk openly. Right. Versus you coming to me and calling me a noob, it's a lot different, you know? It's right. Like you get rid of that white coat syndrome. Right. And that's kind of like, you're not seeing your regular doctor every single day for a condition. Right. You're going to see me for 6 weeks, 3 times out of the week. So we're going to be buddies. So we don't want that wall between us.
True, true. That's actually a really good point. And I didn't really take that into account. People who are seeing a therapist see their physical therapist way more often than they would see a doctor.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you usually see a doctor, once in a great while, hopefully. Right. There are, I guess, as you get older, we work with so many older clientele that. I can't tell you how many times I've heard about, oh, I got to go to the doctor. They see their doctor twice a week or however many times, but still, that's like for instance, someone like you or me might see our doctor once every 6 months.
Exactly. I mean, I haven't seen my primary physician in probably over a year.
Yeah. I literally haven't had a physician for 7 years up until last March. Can you believe that? And I had a physical like 3 weeks ago, and I just am like, I'm not going into the hospital right now. I don't even know if my insurance that I have even covers it. Right. But like, what am I going to do with a physical?
I'm going to be seeing Corsetti on Friday for my surgery.
I knew it. I knew it. Somebody was asking me, who the heck was I just talking to about? Oh, Suzanne. She was asking about like, oh no, it wasn't Suzanne. It was Shelly stopped in to say hi.
Yeah. And she texted me too. Yeah. Oh man, she's great. She texted me yesterday, I think yesterday afternoon she texted me and she was like, hey, so when's your surgery? And I hadn't heard back yet when my surgery time was. And I was like, hey, I don't know yet, but I'll let you know as soon as it happens. And she goes, if you need any rides, if you need anything to get to an appointment, just let me know. Like, I'll get the big car so you can prop your leg up. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, who says that? Like, who's going to drive? Like, who's 80 years old and will pick me up from my house to bring me to an appointment? You know?
Shout out to our clients over at New England Functional Fitness. It's amazing, all the love and support from everybody that we've been getting through all this. I mean,
the absolute greatest.
Insane. I was actually last night kind of missing it. I'm like, man, I miss the senior classes. I miss the adult classes, the kids. Those are definitely. There's always those times during some of those classes where you're like, yes, you know what I mean. There's like a moment in every day when you had a class that sort of made your day a little bit.
Absolutely. The seniors are definitely.
They definitely had the most character.
Yeah, and I know that you saw them only once in a while. You saw them on Fridays, right?
I saw them on Friday, but I mean the last few months because Natalie shifting in And out of her classes over at Springfield, I was doing the morning. You're a senior class, and then my Friday. So I think I was seeing them 2 or 3 times a week. Well, your class twice and mine once a week for I don't know how long. It's kind of foggy. How
I know, right?
Everything. I mean, we haven't worked in like 3 months.
I know. I can't. It's funny. We work 4 hours now. We go home like, damn, I'm beat.
Yeah, I know. Well, at least there'll be like a window of acclimation once we get back into it.
Absolutely.
But we miss everybody out there.
I don't know if I can go back to working full time after this though. Like working 40 hours.
Yeah, nuts. And for those of you who don't know, me and Anup are part of 3, right? There's a trifecta. Shout out to Matty Ice. Matt Karen is also our 3rd in the business partnership, and we also have Natalie Helm and Hamill. It's Hamill. And
I knew that.
Preston Davis. So shout out to those guys as well. We work over at New England Functional Fitness. We're all strength and conditioning coaches, and we have fun doing it too. Good times over there, and we miss it. How's it like with this whole quarantine thing? How's school? How does that even work for you now? Because I talked to the first person I've had on the podcast is also in college, but I slightly mentioned it last time I was talking to him because out of curiosity I was like, I gotta ask Anup, because you're in college on a very hands-on oriented type of clinical based program or degree, or not degree but major, and how does that even work over the internet? I mean,
so for those of you who don't know, I'm in physical therapy school, and basically with physical therapists, if you've never been to a therapist, it's a lot of holistic approaches, right? So it's a lot of stretching, it's a lot of exercises, lots of manual hands-on work, like working on just your joints and opening those spaces up. So for us to learn things, it's not just textbook based, right? We have to actually go in there and feel what a joint actually is.
Right.
There's something called joint.
Well, yeah, that's
so right. So as we know, like we can't give people, certain feels. Like we can't know what a muscle feels like through a textbook. Like, the textbook feels like paper.
Right. A lot of your tests oriented like that as well.
So we have.
So I know you were working with you did work with a cadaver and everything.
Right. Yeah. So we had our first year for a cadaver lab.
Cadaver's a dead body.
For
those of you who don't know.
Medically.
They didn't kill him. It
was given to us dead. So a cadaver is basically a body that was donated. So you and I could sign up to be a cadaver one day, where they would go ahead and donate our body to medical research. Basically, that's how doctors learn. Yeah. I know it kind of sounds sick, but I mean, if you've ever been to a doctor, that's pretty much how they learned what they do. Yeah. So it is pretty necessary. Right.
It's crazy.
So we have
the videos you showed me. I was like, oh,
it's crazy.
Suck. It's like sick. It's nasty. But I can see how important that is.
Yeah.
Because you can pinpoint everything. Do they color code that like they did the frogs in high school? I remember they color coded the organs.
Nothing is color coded. It's they take all the blood out of it, and then they pump it with. It's not formaldehyde anymore. Formaldehyde used to be the stuff they used like 20 years ago, and everyone still calls it formaldehyde.
Yeah.
It doesn't smell as bad. It's like an alcohol-based solution.
Yeah.
It just allows the body to not deteriorate as fast.
Yeah, so it's not
rotting. It does
rotting.
still smell, though.
Yeah.
It stays in your clothes, to be honest.
Is it cold in the room? Like, is it in a refrigerated room?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Just, again, to slow things down. But you don't even feel it because it's just like you're in that room and you're just hands-on the entire time. It's not easy to cut those bodies either.
No, I was gonna say, still, muscle tissue. I can't imagine how hard it is to cut through.
The muscle wasn't even that hard; it was the fat to get through.
Really?
So yeah.
Oh, because maybe it gets hard over time.
It's not. It's not that it gets hard. It's actually like, I don't know what substance I can compare it to. Like, think of like greasy cheese pizza and like taking the pizza and just squeezing, like how the grease would come out into your fingers. That's actually how fat is. It's so oily in there. So when we had to cut the body, we had one body that was relatively large.
Right.
So to cut it open to get to the muscle, we had to get to the fat.
Wow.
But the fat really sticks to the muscle. So you had to scrape all of it off. And it's crazy how intense that is. But then you get to the heart and you realize how the fat's encoding the heart as well.
Yeah.
And then, we know that being overweight definitely makes an impact on your health, but seeing it in an actual body and actual organs to say, okay, this is what it's causing is a big eye opener.
Oh, man. That's huge. That's huge. It's a good point too, because I keep thinking with all of this going on, how things were going to come back together once all the quarantine's over and that new normal starts to initiate. Like, what kind of priority, or how will people shift the priority, if they will, in their health? You know what I mean?
I know.
Because I mean, this should be a huge eye opener for people who haven't been keeping track of their diet, haven't been keeping up with exercise, haven't been properly sleeping at night. You know what I mean? Like all those things, I really hope for the most of us. I mean, that's something that personally I think I've always prioritized, and most people our age kind of get that now because of we're right in the age of information. We got to just jump into that stream of going on Facebook, and I mean, everything's available to us now, so we understand these things pretty well. But for so long, I mean, so many people really haven't been paying attention to that, and I hope through all this, people kind of get on that ball and start taking care of themselves a little better.
Unfortunately, I think it might be the opposite.
Yeah.
When you drive by, I live in East Hartford, right? Originally, that's where I moved here from. So when I still go down to my parents, the line for like Popeyes literally is into the street. It's 40 cars deep.
I know.
So you figure that these people have the perfect opportunity to stay home and cook, and instead they're going out to get fast food because it's easier right now. It's so cheap to do it also. Now, all these people who are afraid of going into the grocery store, and I understand that there is a cause for concern, but these people who are like, I'm not going to go to the grocery store to buy groceries just in case I catch something, they go to a fast food restaurant.
Yep.
Right. So that's only going to go ahead and create just a spiral effect of
that. Actually, that's such a good point. I never even thought about that, because now those who are still frightened, and probably will perpetually be frightened for quite some time after something like this, they won't go inside of a restaurant anymore. They're gonna do either pickup or drive through for a while.
And they might actually end up ordering more than they usually would.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the comfort of your own home, you don't have to sit in a restaurant for 45 minutes. You can be at home in front of the TV for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So instead of getting one entree, you might get two.
Oh.
So I think unfortunately for Americans, not including other countries, because America is the worst at this, right? And we know that just based on
ground zero.
Exactly. For everything, literally for every disease, we're pretty much ground zero, aside from third world country diseases.
Right.
Like, famine and whatnot.
Malaria.
Exactly. And famine is not a disease, but just things related to that, and just that disorder itself of being malnutrition.
Yeah.
That's not something Americans have to worry about. We have to worry about the overfeeding aspect of things, and heart disease. And we talked the other day, heart disease is one of the leading
stress.
killers. Yeah.
Stress is a big one. That's the thing. The biggest famine in this country is time. People don't have time to do things that they need to do. They start sacrificing. Oh, okay, but I'll shave a couple hours of sleep off tonight, and then the next night, and then the stress of. I mean, even when we were in the thick of it, yourself, Matt, and I, when we were getting the business running, I mean, just that alone, the amount of stress behind all that. There was nights where I had trouble sleeping. I could admit to that. But you got to grind. And people are stuck in that mindset sometimes for too long. That's the thing. So overall, I brought this up, I think, with Jameson. I think we even talked about it, how it's kind of been a blessing to have this time for the sake of our mental health.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
Because so if you're in this quarantine and you're stuck at home, or you're not able to work right now, hopefully you're taking this time to better your mental health and work on things you want to work on and start new projects. I mean, this is a product of that. This is a product of a quarantine, because for me, it's like a lot of things came together when I've had all this time off, and I realized, well, to keep my creative juices going, I like being creative. I might as well have set something up that I can control and do whenever I can. You know what I mean? All I need is a guest. So it's pretty easy, and this is fun. People like doing this. And it's just, it's
funny. I was talking to Shannon the other day, and Shannon is a good friend of mine. And, I was saying that I feel bad that all I do literally is I go to the gym, I go work out.
Yeah.
Obviously because we have the availability to, and most people, unfortunately,
we're some of the lucky people. We have our own gym.
So I literally go there, I come home, I'll cook, and then I'll go to sleep. And it's like, that's literally rinse and repeat. It's like being stuck in Groundhog's Day, and that's a Groundhog's Day movie reference if those people don't definitely watch
Groundhog. Okay, Bill Murray is the shit. So just know that.
But it's funny because when I mentioned that to her, she said, "Well, hey, when's the last time you had this time? When can you actually say when's the last time you didn't work?"
This will never happen.
Never.
You're never in your adulthood life are going to have a summer vacation. This was the equivalent of a summer vacation, like when we were kids, like
scale that no one's
nothing
heard
to
of.
do on a scale no one's heard of in so many different ways. It's actually even in my opinion, you have a little bit more freedom. That is, if you're not completely tied to too many social events and restaurants. And I never really did restaurants. My social life hasn't changed too much because I still get to see the people I regularly saw,
Right.
yourself and a couple friends, and I mean, I never really found myself in large groups after once high school was over and college. I mean, concerts are very seldom for me, and
Yeah.
but yeah, having the time to work on yourself is huge.
It's amazing. It's I've never been like so stress free. Like, it's funny because I just go home and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go eat, and then do I go watch Hulu or do I go to sleep?
Yeah.
How about I do both?
Yeah. Yeah, seriously.
You
can now, before it's like grind. Right before this happened, I think I was talking to even Preston about it. It seemed like everything was just full bore. You know what I mean? It wasn't stopping. It was just like the economy was going up and up and up, and work was just more and more and more than even for us.
Yeah.
I mean, we were like, right before this happened, we were breaking records. Everybody was kicking ass. You know what I mean? We were
our best year.
All of us were just, it was just fun, but
it's funny to say our best year since we haven't even been in business for a
year
yet.
Next month will be a year, and like 3-4 months out of that year, we haven't been working.
Right. And I mean, just from day one, we hit the floor running. So to say that if this hadn't happened, like we could have been looking for another coach still, even after getting Preston on board. Yeah. Things were growing at an exponential rate. So
I know.
It doesn't hurt to have this time off, but it does make you rethink the fact that, do I want to go back to working as much as I did?
Yeah.
Or do I want
that's
more
my
time?
big realization is having the having the understanding that, now having the understanding that is to not want to work as much, not want to work as much from a lazy standpoint, but I need to keep my life intact because I sacrificed a lot of that in those beginning 6 months, because it was like when I had free time, that free time went immediately, and not that I didn't enjoy it, but it went towards, the administrative stuff, the creative stuff, all those other little processes that are going on behind the scenes there. And so, after a while, as much as I enjoyed it, it started to deteriorate my ability to have a social life, you know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Or do things that kind of get, it's so important to have things you can do that you can get lost in. Because there's a certain part of your brain that does turn off. Like we'll say video games is a good example, or some type of game, or maybe you're drawing, you know what I mean, or listening to music. There's a certain part of your brain that turns off when you don't need to think about something when you're doing it.
Right.
That's why, like, sometimes manual labor is kind of nice because you don't really have to think about it. That's why I kind of like enjoyed
work.
Yeah, I enjoyed painting because you don't have to really think about it. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this, and then you just do it, and you can kind of shut off your brain while you're doing that.
Absolutely. And I agree. As much as I loved being at the gym, I mean, there was a time when we were vacuuming the walls before we painted.
Yeah.
It's great because we know that the end product will be great for us.
Yeah.
But you're still not stepping away from it,
I love how excited we were when we finally bought it, but I keep thinking back to that moment and we're like, what the hell happened between that moment and now? Cause you know how when you accomplish something, you have that excitement, you have that fulfillment. But the reality was when we bought it, we hadn't even started.
Oh, absolutely not.
Like that. And it took us 6 months to buy it. You know what I mean? If not more.
The longest process in the world.
Yeah, we weren't even started. There wasn't even paint on the walls. You know what I mean? Like
the only thing we've done is cleaned.
And it was, I'm just so grateful that we didn't think about it. We just did it. It's so important. Here's a pro tip. If you're going to do something, don't think about it. Just do it. It literally is so important. It's fine to understand what might come out of it and sort of ponder how to do it. But I know too many people who have said they were going to do something and spent too much time thinking about it rather than taking the action. This podcast, again, is a good example of that. I told one person.
I had no idea you knew about this.
Matt just found out about it today.
Right. Like, I had no idea you were doing this until you invited me to it.
I wasn't going to be talking about it because it's like, okay, I want to make sure this is set up, the studio set up. Like, literally just today, everything came in. There might be a couple more things just to get a little bit less sound echoing in here. But overall, I mean, I don't like to, if I'm really gung-ho about something, I usually don't say too much until it's ready. You know what I mean? Until it's actually happening. That's why I haven't even talked about it on any of my other social media platforms or like my main Instagram, because it's like I want there to be some pool of content so people go, oh, check this out, and then there's a few episodes there versus just one episode and an introduction. I'll let it grow and test it out. And I also want to get more comfortable here too, because it's a little different talking in this regard than
just hearing yourself on this.
Hearing yourself, you're on camera. I mean, personally, I'm a little nervous, and I trip over my own thoughts all the time, especially when I'm trying to think on a thought. It's the first time I've had coffee in like 3 months, too. I'm going crazy right now. Yeah, I went to Whole Foods the other day, and I saw this Vietnamese coffee. It's so good. Have you ever had Vietnamese coffee?
I have not.
It's pretty good. You want to try it?
No, I'm good. I'm trying to get off of the coffee now. We were just talking about the other day. Yeah, because if I have a sip of that, I'll find myself a Starbucks again.
Yeah, I know. That's so true. The Starbucks over here in Ludlow is nuts.
Is it?
It goes out into the street.
Yeah, that's how the one in Springfield is too.
It's nuts.
The one like right off the highway. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's by the car washes.
Oh yeah.
But that one is crazy too. Always off the street.
It's right on by the highway. This one's by the highway too. It's incredible. I couldn't.
So this one says drive-through and mobile order pickup only. Literally, I'll see the line. It's like 15 cars long. I'll mobile order, go inside, and the cars haven't moved from where they were when I first left off.
That's one thing I miss, man. Cafes were my jam. I like just going places and sitting down and just being around people, but not associating with them.
Right.
Like people watching. It's kind of like you're like comfortable in a productive environment. You can look up every now and then and see people doing stuff. And there's a lot of great cafes around. I don't know if you've ever been to South Hadley.
I've never been to South Hadley.
This place called the Thirsty Mind. Shout out to the Thirsty Mind. Awesome place.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a wine cafe. They serve wine there too. I think they might serve beer, but I've had wine there before. Like we bought a bottle of wine. They had like a jazz night. It was pretty cool. But yeah, man. Freaking one thing I'll bring up again too is don't go on Facebook right now. What is it? What's the date? It's the 30th. Okay, that's when we're recording this. But man, it's a war zone. After what happened in Minnesota,
it's insane.
It's insane. I mean. I'm so happy, at least relieved, that those guys are. Is it all of them or just one of them going to jail?
From what I understand, it's only one of them right now that's been arrested for third-degree charges.
Yeah, I saw that. Third-degree
charges.
Was it murder or manslaughter?
Homicide.
Homicide. Good.
Because I think manslaughter is unintentional.
Yeah.
Like, let's say if you get in a car accident and it's not because you were drunk or anything, but you get in a car accident, someone dies, that's manslaughter.
Right.
However, if I picked up a gun and I shot you, that's homicide.
Or you stand on somebody's neck until they die.
Or kneel, yeah, exactly.
Freaking ridiculous. And it's like it's such a loaded debate. There's some people like, oh, you don't have to riot, and then some people are like, what else are you gonna do? Here's my take. If you haven't seen Billy Jack, have you seen Billy Jack?
Not.
So it's an awesome classic Western. Somebody shared a clip of it. I've seen it once. I'm gonna go borrow it and watch it again. My uncle has it. Such an awesome classic movie. It's like a movie during the Western days when like they were still oppressing the natives, but they were still indigenous to the land. Unlike today, they're kind of just consolidated in the reservations. But essentially, it was like a white man defending the rights of what natives were left. And these, police officers were coming in. These authority figures were coming in. But there's this awesome line. He said, "When the police no longer obey the law, there is no law."
Right.
And that was like, because at that point, if you're just going to go around being an authority figure and killing people, what the hell do you expect?
Right. Exactly.
You got to be ready for a riot.
When the law's out the window, then anyone can do whatever they want.
You kind of got to be ready for a riot. So I think the riot's obviously not always the greatest thing because, as I said before, it would suck if we were just sitting here and somebody starts destroying this place.
I know,
you know what I mean? Like that would suck if you were working or our business all of a sudden was ransacked and burned down. You're like, damn.
Kind of sucks.
It sucked. But overall, man, I think it's going to really help reshape the way certain authority figures are dealt with in those circumstances.
It's I don't know because so
I'd hope at least.
Here's a few takes, right? So if you go on Facebook now, like you said, don't go on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
It's the nature of it.
Unless you want to get pissed off.
The nature of it's changing so much because someone said it's funny. Someone goes ahead and says, "Don't riot. It's not going to change anything."
Yeah.
And then, you know, the next person on there says, well, rioting just caused this person to get arrested. And then someone else says, right, but you also destroyed a lot of property.
Yeah.
And they, you know, then the next argument is, well, the land you're standing on may have been established because the Boston Tea Party.
Right.
You know,
that was a perfect example of a riot.
And then some idiot goes, yeah, but they resorted to that because nothing else worked. And it's like, well, when did Mark Zimmerman kill Trayvon Martin? That was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So since then, we've had Colin Kaepernick kneel.
Right.
Lost his entire football career.
What the hell? Why would anybody be mad at him for kneeling? So there's so many weird things like that are heated and very like bilaterally sided. Like there's one side and there's the other. Why does that?
So it came down to them saying he's being disrespectful to the flag. Right. And he went ahead and said, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not going against the flag. I'm going against the police brutality.
I love that Nike made him lift their face.
That was if you think of how much advertising they got from that, whether you're happy or upset, you still shared that photo.
Hey, bad press is press. You know,
exactly.
It's like they got out there.
So it comes down to, how do you want them to protest? They protested quietly by kneeling, right? People have a problem with that.
Everything, exactly. There was how many examples of that? What were the other ones? Because I did see
Kobe
a meme
Bryant wearing, well, not just Kobe Bryant, but a lot of football players wearing "I Can't Breathe," right? With Eric Garner dying. This was about 5 years ago now, with the cigarette incident in New York. They also got reprimanded for doing that.
Yeah.
Then you have people protesting quietly in Minnesota, and they got tear gassed and shot with foam bullets and rubber bullets, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, what stream of revenue have you left for us to go with? If they riot, people are going to go and say, well, they're rioting and destroying things for no reason. These black people are crazy. Well, then now you have, you know, these pictures coming out of California rioting. You have pictures of Canada rioting. You have, you know, over sports teams.
At the end of the day, you just because you're a government doesn't mean you're not susceptible to repercussions. You know what I mean? That can happen. And it's not that, personally, I'm not saying that I'm in favor of rioting, but you got to understand that humanity is just as susceptible to nature as anything else. There's always going to be an equal and opposite reaction. And when things are happening, I mean, what else would you expect? Because like you said, what if they just peacefully protested? They would have probably been suppressed with you know, all those police anyways. You know what I mean?
And that's what's happened in the past few years, right? Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, now what actually came to light a couple of days ago, if not, I think it was either yesterday or the day before. So we know that there's rioting going on in Minnesota. So the question comes down to this, right? A few questions come down first. Now, was that police officer, Derek Chauvin, was he arrested because of what he did, or was he arrested because what he did was caught on tape? So that's the first question, right?
Right.
If this wasn't caught on tape, what would have happened?
Yeah, he wouldn't have been. There's no way.
There's no way.
Not a chance. If it wasn't on tape, but there's too much evidence, and that's kind of what now, and that's the beauty of it. Now the government has to be accountable for their actions.
Right. Exactly.
Like, okay, there's evidence. You know
So now that happened, right? Now you caught it on tape. And these riots happen, right?
Right.
So now when these riots happen, it took them almost 4 days to arrest the guy, right?
Yeah, I don't
know. Now you have
too long.
Right, too long to even go ahead and bring these charges up.
Dude, the guy, George Floyd, was killed or murdered for check fraud. Like so that the guy who murdered him is just going to get fired? Like that's what it was at first. It was like they're just going to fire somebody who's murdering people?
Right.
Like, that's not enough.
That's all they were going to do.
Yeah.
You know? And I guarantee he wouldn't have even been fired. He would have been on administrative leave with a nice...
Hey, just turn in your badge for a couple weeks. Okay?
Yeah, badge and gun. And, you know, just sit at home pretty. We'll still pay you.
Right.
You know, so now that happened, now the riots are happening, and a couple... Like I said, it was either yesterday or the day before. There are CNN News just reporters, right?
Right.
Obviously doing their job. Freedom of the press. It's the First Amendment right. A supervisor of the police says, hey, you can stand here to record. And that's it.
Yeah.
So they're standing there doing their thing, and another set of police officers come by, and they're like, you can't be here. Reporters say, okay, well, let us know where to go, and we'll go there. But we were told to be here by your supervisor.
Yeah.
They got arrested on live television without being told what they're being arrested for.
Yeah.
So right then and there, you're having riots break out for you being brutal against people and also just violating their rights and violating your power. And you go ahead and do it again on live television while the riots are happening for the same thing you're doing now. It's like, when are you going to learn?
Yeah, I know.
Unfortunately, the riots might make a change, but something needs to happen at a higher level. Whether it's training or retraining courses, the body cams are being shut off before crimes are being done.
Have a different psychological evaluation, because I know a lot of cops have to go through that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, dude, if you're racist at all, you know what I mean? Like there should be like some. I know it's easy to lie about.
It's also, unfortunately, now this may not sit well with some people. What I'm going to say, right? So I was a psych minor in undergrad.
Right.
We sat through this lecture of how racism and how bias actually is.
Right.
So basically, let me put you through the scenario.
Yeah.
Right. You have a wall with a bunch of, or you have a TV mount, right?
Right.
And you're given a clicker. That clicker represents a gun. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the screen, it will show you multiple pictures of crime happening, right? So let's say the first picture is of a white male who is shopping with a cart, and you're asked to click that ticker or not. And you have maybe a split second to do it. So it's a split second question, right?
Right. The clicker is like to shoot him?
Yeah. Oh. You're pretty much the bystander, and you have to go ahead and do the right thing. And let's just say there's no repercussions for what you're doing, right? So white man shopping cart, you don't click it because you know there's nothing happening wrong. Split mind decision, you're good. Next thing you know is a white male with a gun pointing straight at you. You click it because you know you have to shoot, otherwise you die. Right. So let's say a series that happens, right? White and black happen, right?
Right.
The number of times you click that clicker for a black male without a gun is higher than the number of times you'll click it for a white male without a gun. So you are, unfortunately, based on media and based on what we see, programmed to be biased before anything even happens. And it's so bad because they did a test on numerous people for this.
I completely agree with that. I really do, because I know on a foundational level, the media, I think, does capitalize mostly on dividing and conquering.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? That's why there's only two parties, and that's why they're really, really pushing that racism envelope, because it's like they want people to still be divided. Because imagine now if we were all working together, certain people wouldn't even be in office anymore, because they'd be like, yo, this guy sucks, and we kind of all know it at our heart, but then we get conditioned through policy, or rather through political views, to like somebody.
Right.
Like most of probably Trump supporters wouldn't actually like Trump, but all of the propaganda and all of the way they talk about him in politics and the way they talk about political views probably conditions people into favoring his supposed opinion on things. You know what I mean? But you don't really know.
No, these people that you're saying, these Trump supporters, and obviously there are people that are logical that are supporting him, because unfortunately with the last election there wasn't really much to choose from, right?
No.
You're given a pile of shit or a pile of shit. Yeah. So what do you choose? Right?
I honestly, that last election I voted for was it Gary Johnson?
Oh,
there was a third guy.
Well,
there was a third guy. I didn't know who to vote for.
There was also a fourth person.
Dude, Trump and Clinton. I'm like, dude, no freaking way. Right. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah. So when you have, there was a few thousand people that actually voted for Harambe.
No way. Oh yes, I do remember that. Yeah, Harambe was voted for.
And it's unfortunate because we weren't given a very good choice of people to pick from. Now, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say I hope Trump does bad, because that's being on a plane and hoping the pilot crashes. Right. You know, that's the analogy that a lot of people chose. But I will see a lot of people online go ahead and support decisions he's making now, and a few years ago completely refute the decision Obama made. So you're going to go ahead and literally say, oh, Trump is saying 2 + 2 is 4, and Obama says 2 + 2 is 4, but your 4 is worse than his 4.
Yeah.
It's literally the same exact thing, but you're agreeing with one person's opinion more than the other just because of your values.
It comes down to that conditioning, the conditioning, your perceptions being conditioned by the media on what each party is. Because years ago, the Democratic Party could have been much similar to the way they're talking about the Republican Party and vice versa. You know what I mean?
It all will shift, you know.
Because I've always considered myself to be in the middle. You know what I mean? But it's like there's sometimes where I'm like, these liberals are out of hand, and then the conservatives sometimes are out of hand.
It's funny too because it's literally so skewed to the farthest extremes possible, right?
Yeah.
Now obviously I'm gonna have my differences between each party.
Yeah.
Now I'm on the same boat as you. Do I agree with one fully? No, because as
you
a
never
millennial,
want to be too far to one side.
No,
you've
you can't.
you've lost your way if you're too far to one side. If you're not questioning anything anymore,
it's problematic.
It's time to start.
Right. And you know what? It comes down to this, right? What they say about bias. It's not wrong to have a bias. Everyone will have a bias no matter what you do. And this might be some truth that some people don't want to swallow, but everyone has a bias. The one thing you can do to help yourself with that bias is realize what that bias is.
Yep.
Now, if you have a bias towards a certain color of skin, you have to understand what that bias is.
That's huge.
Right.
That's the worst one. If you're somebody who's still biased towards skin color, shame on you. Because it's
2020.
It makes no sense. Especially if you're in our generation. Okay, what are we? We're born in the 90s, so
Gen Z. A lot of people are Gen Z.
Yeah, if you're racist and you're Gen Z, what the fuck?
It's get over that shit.
Because there's way too much science. I mentioned it earlier. We're conditioned, born, upbrought, and pretty much integrated into the age of information.
Yeah.
You leave your house without your phone, it's like leaving your house without a freaking limb. You know what I mean? You're missing something. And it's extremely, extremely simple. I mean, skin color just comes down to your ancestry's climate and altitude. Like that's
and
it.
How far you are from the equator. That's literally all that has to do with anything.
That it's like, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It just seems like a far too primitive. It's way too primitive of a way to think, to comprehend acting like that. You know what I mean? At least for some, I've never really understood it. Because it's like, people can suck, but if you go, that person sucks because he's white, that person sucks because he's black, it's like, I don't know if his skin color has anything to do with his brain.
Right. No, I agree. You know what I mean? No, another thing is like, you know, if you're ignorant to something, because you're uneducated about it, that's a little bit different than realizing the science and still going against it. Now, obviously, we're in the health field, right? We work with science every single day of our lives,
and our resources. That's that's what I'm the biggest fan of what we do. My favorite thing about what we do is we work with so many people, and we get to talk to them, doctors, radiologists, all kinds of lawyers, business owners. There's like literally nobody in a field that we haven't worked with. Construction.
Now we have a pastor's wife that comes there who completely. I mean, and the Bible or religion itself is contradictory to all of science ever. So, but to still sit there and still be able to talk to this person. Yeah. But she also agrees with a lot of science, which is amazing. So one thing I want to bring up is that when I was an undergrad, I took another psych course. It was a sexual psych course. Yeah. Probably one of the greatest classes I've ever taken because when I went in there, I was very misinformed of different genders, right? In my head, I'm like, there are two genders and that's it. Yeah. And no one's going to change that. You know, that was 19 at the time. That was like, you know what? I'm an arrogant asshole that knows everything in the world. There's two genders and there's only two, and I don't care what else you say. I don't care about this XYZ nonsense. Yeah. And then I took this class, and this guy, he started off by saying, look,
You're saying there's more than two genders right now?
You're gonna
have to lay it on us. Lay it on us.
So I'll bring you through a couple of examples, right? But this professor definitely changed my mind about it. He went ahead and said, look, I'm not going to tell you what's right or wrong. I'm going to tell you what science says. Yeah. From there, it's your choice to believe it or not. Yeah. Now, I'll leave you with this. If you believe the science, then you're smart. If you don't, you're an idiot. And I was like, well, you're not saying we're right or wrong, but you're going to say if we're wrong, we're an idiot. And I was like, okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm going to go ahead and open my mind. So first thing you can do to anyone's opinion is open your mind to say, I will go ahead and receive the knowledge that you're giving me. Yeah. I will take that and formulate my own opinion and my own hypothesis about it. That's exactly what any normal person should do with any set of information, right? Yeah. So I wasn't very convinced at this point about what he was going to say. However, I said, you know what, I'll open my mind to it. So he brings upon this example. He says, when there's this boy, 18 years old, fully healthy, beard, great looking guy, has a girlfriend, has a sex life, whatever. Right. And suddenly he starts bleeding internally, right? and he's feeling sick. He's having these changes happen in his body where he's like, just his mood changes, and he's bleeding internally, and they can't figure out why. So he gets a number of tests done, and then finally they find out that he has uterus.
What? So he's like a hermaphrodite?
So no. So this is the crazy part, right? So when you're conceived,
right,
hormones will act on your cells, right?
Right.
Now, if there's an increased amount of testosterone in the female's body while she's conceiving or while she's having these cells divide.
How old was he?
This was about 18 years old. He was.
Yeah.
It might be a few years off. He was still going through puberty at the time, right. So he may have been a little bit younger. And don't quote me on his age because this is from years ago, but I understand the basic concept of this, right?
Right.
So when your mother is pregnant with you, your cells will divide to create a child. That's how we become what we are. So if the woman is exposed to a lot of testosterone in her body at the time, the cells will take on a male appearance because we know testosterone is a male hormone, right? So when this person's mother was pregnant, the cells were XX chromosome, which is female, but they were exposed to a lot of testosterone, which made them appear to be male, which we know that maybe a lot of you guys don't know, but a lot of our sex hormones, actually all of our sex hormones are analogous to the female sex hormones, right? Mm-hmm. So our penis, the tip, is analogous to the clit.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So engorged with blood.
Analogous. What does analogous
mean?
Meaning
they're the same, similar. Right? They're similar or the same.
Okay.
Right. So the penis can be engorged with blood and becomes erect. However, the clitoris can also do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Right. So the labia majora, the lips of vagina. Yeah. What is that analogous to? Do you know? Do you know what that becomes?
No, I wouldn't.
What on our body as a male has pretty much looks like has a suture combining two parts. Only one of our body parts has this suture.
Is that our ass?
No, it's our ball sack.
No way.
After this podcast is done, and all you guys listening, if you're a male, take a look at your ball sack. There is a suture line.
Guys, go in the mirror. Just pause this. You're probably not even pausing this. Your pants are off at work right now. Like, why are you looking at your nuts? Broad daylight.
So you're the labia majora. So let's bring this down into terms that people understand, right?
Yeah.
The lips of the vagina, they are the same as the scrotum, which is the sac.
Yeah.
Right. So if you look at your sac, there's a very clear line.
Yeah.
Right in the middle that shows you where it was sutured, like a sew, right?
Like it's formed together.
Exactly. So what is that? Nothing else in our body has that. Our arm, our hands don't have that. Now, if you go ahead and say that, oh, the lines on your hand is like that, you're an idiot. So please don't bring that argument up to anyone.
Yeah.
But that's the only part of our body that actually has a suture line.
Right.
So you kind of figure, well, that's analogous with that. So what's our testicles analogous to?
Yeah.
The ovaries.
The female.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Not the little eggs that come out, but the actual things that float.
Yeah, I think we've always, we're pretty, everybody knows, like I've seen the
exactly.
ovaries and all that.
So it's like,
I always thought they looked exactly the same. The ovaries and the testicles, they're the same shape.
It's the same exact shape. It's just different function. So the penis is analogous to the clitoris. The scrotum is analogous to the labia majora. And then you have now the ovaries and testicles. So kind of what else is there? Boobs? Well, yeah, they just have mammary glands in them, which produce milk. So there's going to be a little bit of a difference there. So what happened is back to this guy, right?
Yeah.
So he had a uterus inside of him. Mm-hmm. So the question came out to what the hell is this? So it turns out when he was being conceived, his mother just somehow had a lot of testosterone.
Right.
Right. And which caused this XX chromosome cell to be male in appearance. So let's say you're 28 now.
Did he have a penis?
He did have a penis. Yeah.
Could he conceive a child?
He could not. He could not conceive because he didn't have. I don't think he had testicles that were fully functional.
Yeah, I've never put much thought into it, but my where I've always stopped with gender, and I know psychologically you can feel different ways. That I don't argue with, but I always go down. Well, you can either give birth or you can't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So let me ask you this, right? So put yourself in this kid's shoes.
Yeah.
16 years old, 17 years old. Crazy changes every once in a while that are happening. You're internally bleeding. You have a girlfriend. You've had sex. You have facial hair.
Right.
You go to the doctor and they tell you, well,
and you don't have boobs.
You don't have boobs, right? You appear just the way that you are. You were 16. Right. No changes whatsoever. You go to the doctor and you find out you're actually XX chromosome, which genetically is female, right? So now think to yourself, what are you? Right. Are you a male or a female? Now, this isn't looking at someone else. Think about you. You lived 16 or 17 years as a male.
Right.
You played with red toy trucks. You watched Power Rangers. You wanted to be the Power Ranger. You watched Dragon Ball Z, all this stuff. Never in your life have you put on a dress.
Power Ranger so bad.
Yeah. So
Dude,
think
Power
about the
Rangers
doctor
were the best.
coming in with the test results saying you're XX.
Yeah.
In your head, what are you? Are you a male or a female?
If he said XX.
You're XX chromosome.
Right.
But you appear the way you are, and you've lived your life up until now the way you
as
are.
A male.
What are you?
Yeah.
So that's when my professor
gray
brought
area.
Exactly. So when my professor brought that dilemma up, I'm like, shit. You know, I'm like, am I gonna go with science on this one? Because science says I'm XX, but psychologically I'm XY, and I was like, fuck, I'm mind blown.
Yeah.
You know, so this is the first experience that I had where I was like, damn, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it would be. I'm like, well, I would be a male because I'm going to go psychologically on this one, because thinking to myself, how can I go ahead and change this? And I've had a beard since I was 14. I had a chin strap freshman year of high school.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and if any of my high school friends are listening to this afterwards, they will know that this is a true fact. I had a chin strap in high school.
Oh,
so,
every friend I had who had a beard had a chin strap. First thing. That's the first one to go to.
All brown people, like all my brown people from like India and Pakistan, have facial hair when they're born.
Yeah, I was gonna say facial hairs out there. That's, they got it good. They
exactly.
Get it good.
Yeah, we get lucky with that. So it comes down to, you know, what are you? So I was kind of blown by this.
Isn't that such a weird thing? That's such a bad freaking draw. Like, why would it be in a hot fucking place like that we're just gonna, all the people here will just be hairy? You know what I mean? Like, evolution it never
might be. I think it might be from sun protection.
Yeah,
it might actually be for UVs.
I
think it might be that.
True.
You know, I'm not, don't quote me on that. This is not my field of work. I don't know about that.
It could be. Hairs definitely protects you. But I mean, I could understand if you're like Slavic and you've lived up in like the mountains and you got those like Icelandic Thor looking people with like just hair coming out of the back of their neck. You know,
it's funny because when you look at Eskimos, like they're short in stature and they're really, really thick because it conserves body heat. But then when you go to Africa, these people are skinny and long because it helps them dissipate some of that heat. So it does actually, you know, aside from the color of our skin, like you said, that it's location based. Mm-hmm. What we also have to us is also location based. So you know, if I lived in America for the next, or my family, my generations to come also lived in America for the next 1,000 years, they might end up changing a little
Getting
bit.
a little paler and paler, depending on how far. I mean, you could be in Texas. You could probably, Texas is hot, you know.
Yeah.
You could
Though I do think
keep it brown out there.
I do think we've tapped down on evolution as humans. I don't think we can evolve more than this.
That's actually true. Well, I think we can, but it won't be physically anymore. It's going to be a psychological. Like, people will become. And this is me in my optimistic, tiny little brain. Is that, and this is, I've always argued too, and I got a lot of flack for it in college because I've always been, up until now is the only time I've really questioned it with this pandemic and the riot and like the more you kind of dive into society, and I can't encourage people enough to try to limit how much they're diving into politics and all that, because it's no way to live. It really just strips you of your peace of mind. But I've always I just lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
Evolution.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. People. My optimistic point of view is that I think people over time will definitely, I think, become a little bit more and more understanding for two reasons. One, just the lacking of certain types of conflict, because I do think people are becoming more similar as time goes on. There's a lot more integration of classes and cultures, especially in America.
Right.
And the second thing is that more people from different parts of the world are breeding. Yeah. So now you got people walking around. It's like, oh, I'm black, Asian, and white. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm half black, I'm half white. Like there's a lot more people who are just coming over from Europe. You know what I mean? There's just a lot of, I don't know. There's just, it's easier, at least in my experience, it's been easier to, or not easier, but I've never understood certain aspects or certain prejudices because I've grown up around these people my whole life. Well, I've had plenty of black friends, I have plenty of white friends, Asian friends, Indian friends. You know what I mean? Like there's there's just like, to me, you can't tell the difference. So I think over time, not only will we evolve in terms of understanding that we're not just part of a culture. We're not just part of a country, but we're part of a species.
Yeah.
Especially as we get more understanding of space. That's one thing that I'm really excited for is the exploration of that, and hopefully we, like Elon Musk has some.
Didn't the SpaceX project the other day fail though?
They didn't fail. They had to stop it because of weather conditions.
Oh really?
Yeah, it did not fail.
And they're doing it again Tuesday, I believe, right?
Yeah. I actually want to look into that watch it because I have a friend down there who's watching the launch too. But yeah, as far as evolution goes, I like to think anyways. Provided people stop watching the news so much, that's a huge part, because the news will constantly remind you of prejudice and violence and hate and racism. But the reality is, when you get to meet these people and you actually leave your house, you're not, people are almost always kind of the same and pretty courteous and understanding.
In a sense of like changing their beliefs. Yeah. I do agree. I think it will happen, but physically.
I mean, intellectually, I think we're all kind of expanding. I mean,
absolutely.
Look at how podcasts are. Look, Joe Rogan's podcast is such a great resource for expanding your intellectual capacity. People don't subscribe anymore to just one point of view. Most people are kind of taking things into consideration a lot more than they used to.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier, right? You are given a vast amount of knowledge, and it's your job to create an opinion out of that.
Yeah.
You can't go and listen to one person and agree with everything. There's no way, because that just means you don't have a mind for yourself. Now, Joe Rogan, and I've said this many times to you, is brilliant. This man knows so much.
Think about all the awesome people he gets to sit across.
Exactly.
That's one of the coolest things. That's something I'm really excited about, because I'd love to, even just talking to you for the past however many minutes, I learn things, and as time goes on, and as I get to meet more and more people, and that's just how it is across the board. No matter how you're meeting people, think about all the clients we've met, all the different
how much we've learned
little bits of intelligence we've gained just from people.
It's like that proverb, right? It's you have one man who's brilliant, who knows everything, and you have one man who's a dummy, and they have a conversation. Who's going to learn more?
The dummy.
And, no, it's actually the other guy.
Really?
Because the smart guy will always learn a little something from everyone.
Because he's more inclined to receive information.
Exactly. So even if you're an idiot, right? Even if someone's a moron, what they say makes zero sense. But you still learn something, because you might learn how their brain works.
Yeah.
Even though you don't learn any intellectual information about the actual information they've given you, you learn how this person's brain kind of works.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the things,
rubs off on you.
Exactly. Yeah. Every conversation you have, always try to take something from it.
Yeah.
No matter how little it might be. You might learn something about that person. That's still knowledge. Yeah. Right? Because that person might show you things about themselves that will later on in life be helpful with someone else you might meet. Yeah. Now, I might meet, an employer later on in life similar to you.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I kind of know how Mike thinks.
Yeah.
So this guy might think similar. And I'm like, okay, well, I know how to talk to this guy.
Yeah. That's so funny you say that, because that's something that I've used to my advantage so many times. Like, especially when you're trying to get to know somebody better, you can kind of adapt, or at least have a better understanding of how they think, which would improve your ability to communicate with them. And that would evoke more information you can use.
That can be either seen as being
Trevor's a good example of that. Like, so, Trevor, you're kind of gauging how Trevor thinks. And I've sat down with him.
I can't gauge how he thinks, man.
It's so important. The basis of what we're sort of talking about is how important it is to have a mentor, or at least people you can gather information from. Most people, I think of mentors as people they're always seeing, but honestly, just reach out to somebody who might know something better, or at least more of something than you know about, and try to pick their brain.
Yeah.
Because there's so much you can learn from that. Not only is it the information you gather, but it's the method of absorbing that information and adapting to their personality a little bit.
Right.
And that's where it's so important to be humble too, because a lot of people are so stuck up.
The same thing.
I know it all. What do you know?
It's the pride.
And then they can't
get over that pride, you would learn so much. Like
pride is fucking heavy. Let go of it.
Definitely one of the biggest killers.
So heavy. It weighs you down. It slows you down, and it makes you stupid.
I was talking to my buddy yesterday. He works on cars.
Yeah.
And I know that's like kind of the things that guys do, right? Guys work on cars. Right, I get it.
Yeah.
I can change my oil. I can change my tire. But certain things I'm not going to touch. I'm not going to touch my brakes.
No, neither am I. I do that. It's funny you say that. That's exactly where I'm at with my car. I'll do the oil, the fluids, but then anything else, it's like, I even had the lady install my windshield wipers, because I'm like, she's like, she didn't have to twist my arm. In other words, she was like, "You want me to put them in?" I'm like, "Sure."
Right. So it's one of those things. Like, if you don't know it, reach out. But so many people are like, oh no, I can figure it out.
And then they break something.
Exactly. Like if you're gonna learn, like if you're gonna go ahead and look it up on YouTube and learn, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit there and try to figure out how to change my brakes. Like I can change brakes, I can't change the rotors though. Yeah. Right. That's something I won't mess with. I won't change the rotors because I'm like, I might do something where if I'm on the highway and I'm going 85 miles an hour, which oftentimes I do.
Oh, you didn't tighten that bolt enough.
Right. Exactly. And then,
fucking dead.
Right. So, you know what? I'll know when I'm at my limit. However, I will go ahead and sit with him and learn how to do it. I won't do it myself still, but I'll at least maybe like say, you know, if I've seen it a few times, maybe I'll sit with you and try it with you once. I won't try to make money off it because I'm not putting. No. I don't want to risk your life. I did it
once. Hey, bring your car on over. I'll replace. And the thing with cars too, and I might be even wrong about this. This is how little I know, but there are certain things I'm definitely sure of when I say this. Is that every car is a little different.
Right.
Like my Honda. I mean, I had a Honda prior to my Scion, and I changed the oil still, but the oil filter is different. Like I have a cartridge filter now, so I have to like take a piece out. Like you know how you just screw in the filter, you take it off and you put it on. I love that. Not anymore for me. I have, for whatever reason, it's maybe why they stopped making Scions. It's like the dumbest system. I have to take this whole piece off, and then inside that piece is the filter. and then I have to just replace that. But before I even can take that out, I have to drain it. And there's 2 O-rings on it. It takes 5 more. It takes 5 more minutes for something that was already so streamlined. Right. You just pull it out, throw it away, and put a new one in.
It's like, I don't know if you ever worked on a German car before. My dad's always had.
I can't even a BMW.
Yeah. Well, my dad had an Audi.
How does that go? I've heard so many things about the Beamers. Like
I've never worked on a Beamer.
Okay.
I've worked on an Audi on my dad's and my sister's actually, and. Man, we changed the oil one time, and it's supposed to be like a 10-minute task where you just get under, you unscrew, you take the bolt off, you let it drain. The draining's what takes the longest, right?
Yeah.
Just gotta let everything drip out. Man, we couldn't even get the filter out. The filter was behind like the engine block, right?
Yeah.
And up and under, and I'm like, how do I get in there? And my dad has large hands.
Yeah.
I'm taller than my dad, but my dad's fingers are like 2 of mine.
Getting
together.
under the car is rough too.
Sometimes we had things to get it up, right? We had not just jacks, but we also had like the thing you drive.
Oh, you drive up on it?
Yeah. So my hands are smaller, my hands are thinner, so I was able to get it. But I was like, you know what? Just doing that took over an hour. Yeah. And then we went to go change the light bulb one time, and the light bulb was so hard to change. And while we were in there, you know what? We're like, we'll change the air filters too. We went to AutoZone to get the stuff, and the guy saw my hands. He's like, "What are you guys working on?" And I knew the guy. He was a scumbag from I went to tech school. Yeah. He was a scumbag from auto. He was 3 years older than me. He was a real.
You went to a tech school?
I went to tech
vocational
school. Yep.
No kidding.
Yeah,
What'd you take?
School. Carpentry.
No shit.
Well, that's why I know what to do with carpentry.
Yeah.
Stuff, so.
Okay. I wish I did more. I went to a vocational school as well.
Did you?
Yeah, I went to Pathfinder in Palmer.
What did you take?
I took electrical engineering.
Isn't that crazy? We've known each other for years. I never knew this.
robotics, and oh man, dude. There's so many cool things I learned there, but it's so hard to implement into your daily life. Like I could fix a lot of like smaller things, like with soldering. I was really good at soldering and stuff like that, but should show you a tech book. I looked like a genius.
Yeah.
Now I look at it, it's hieroglyphics. It's like,
dude, carpentry was a blast. Like,
I tell people a lot of friends in carpentry. Yeah.
People, you can build a house. I'm like, well, yeah, with help. Yeah.
And I think that's easier information to retain because it definitely applies more frequently throughout your life.
Yeah. You know how many times, like when my parents bought the house they're at now, there was a rug. Yeah. Right? And we don't like rugs. Who likes a rug? You know, we wanted hardwood floors. So we had a contracting company who quoted us for doing all of it. They quoted us like $27,000 to pull the carpet and pull the carpet and a few things. My dad was like,
$27K?
Yeah, but it's a pretty large house.
Okay. Too. Oh, it was the whole house.
It was a whole house.
Still,
it was carpet in the living room and the family room and up
your
the
house
stairs.
Wouldn't appreciate by that
Dude,
much by doing that.
I was like, "Are you?" When my mom told me that, I was like, "What does that include?" And she was like, "Oh, it includes this, this, and this." And I'm like, "That's silly." I was like, "I'll be back in an hour."
Yeah.
So it disappeared. The house is literally a mile from the house that we were living at. It's probably like 9 or 10
It was just to take the carpets out?
Take the carpet and put the flooring in.
Okay.
I don't think...
Was it like a hardwood floor?
It was a hardwood floor.
Or was it linoleum or something?
It was hardwood floor. Okay. It was actual hardwood floor, like slits at a time. But that price didn't include the hardwood floor. It was just the installation of it and the removal of the carpet. And I was like, that's insane.
Yeah, that was...
Literally, I went into this house. Within an hour, I had the entire carpet pulled.
Yeah.
Within an hour. So I came back home and Mom was like, what happened? I was like, pull the carpet out. She was like... what?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
pulling carpet sucks, but it's not that hard. I've done that for a couple of apartments before.
It saves so much money.
It's just like open a window, pull it out, throw it out the window. I don't get stabbed.
I just slid it all in half, rolled it up, and tied it up in front of the garage.
Yeah.
So they were like, when my mom went the next day, she was like, "You did all this?" I was like, "Mom, it takes like no time whatsoever."
Yeah. Once you get the first one, you just yank.
You just pull. The hardest thing about the entire flooring is getting all those staples out afterwards. Which I was like, you know what? I'll let these guys do it because I don't have the proper machining for that. Otherwise, I'd be sitting there with needle nose pliers pulling.
In other words, in what was it? You said like an hour.
It took me an hour to do the
hours worth of time. You probably saved freaking 20 grand.
We didn't even go with that company afterwards because
I was gonna say that's ridiculous.
Right. It was like
those are the kind of companies that like make up things like, yeah, we're gonna test the air quality and like doing weird tests that you don't even need to do.
We're gonna change your tire fluid today.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that?
we're gonna take measurements. Those measurements cost money.
It's like it's like the dentist that I told you about when they. So I'll tell you guys.
Check the bill, folks.
Yeah. Check what they're doing on you because they're gonna lie. My mom went to a dentist and my dad told the dentist like do whatever she wants. I'm just here to pay for it. That's how my dad is. My dad's like do whatever needs to be done. I'm just here for the money. That's it.
Right.
The guy without telling my mom numbed her mouth and my mom's like, what are you doing? You know she's not. She's like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm gonna do the work. She's like, you haven't told me what you're doing yet.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you need 3 caps. You need 2 root canals. You need this, and this. And my mom's like, I have no pain. I'm here for a cleaning.
That's ridiculous.
You told me last time I just need a deep clean. That's it. And my mom's like, how much is it going to cost? The dentist's like $9,000. My mom literally, with a numb mouth, yanked it off, went outside of my dad. She was like, we're not doing this. This is crazy.
That's so rude. I've actually had a really bad experience one time, too, at the dentist. And this is a dentist that I was seeing for a while. And it wasn't the dentist. The doctor walks in. He's always very kind. You know what I mean? I've never met a mean dentist, at least, thankfully. But, dude, this one time, his assistant... And I was like a little kid, and you know how like scary it is to get like a, and I have like 4 fillings or something, maybe more.
That sweet tooth.
that sweet tooth. When I was a kid, I had my mom did not care. I had no rules as a kid, at all, ever in my life, which is good in some reason. You know, like I've always kind of done what I wanted and I've never been held back because of my parents. You know what I mean? You know that Gary V, like, yo, fuck your mom.
Yeah.
Yo, fuck your parents, dude. Do what you know what I mean?
You would love your parents.
I'm so glad to say that I never had like pressure and like I've always been doing video stuff like this and anything. Anyways, I was in the dentist chair and I'm like, oh, okay. So I knew I was going for a filling and I'm nervous as hell. And I asked dude, this is ridiculous. I asked her, where am I getting the filling? And she goes, in your mouth. And I'm like, like what kind of response? No way. Like, of course they're in my mouth, but where? You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? Where's else does the filling go? Yeah, dude. Come on, lady. Fuck out of here. Freaking kid's all nervous. I'm sitting in a chair. I might have been like 15, 16. And, you know, it's still like, you know, kind of around the time when you start getting your first ones. And every time it's freaking horrible.
It's, you know, they always say like
I
some
still
people
have all
bad...
4 of my wisdom teeth. But I don't know if I'll ever get them removed.
I don't have wisdom teeth.
I'm 28 and you didn't even have them?
In the x-rays, they're not even there. They'll never grow. I don't have a root for them.
That's another thing. Well, there's evolution for you. I think there's a few things that won't have, like in another 1,000 years, we probably won't have wisdom teeth or an appendix.
You know what? I don't.
What do you think?
So I don't think we'll ever evolve physically ever again.
No.
So.
What about an appendix though? Because we don't use it anymore.
No, that's a lie.
Oh, we do.
No. So we do use. We don't use it.
Isn't it like for digesting grass? Is that true?
Yeah, it was used way back when we were eating a lot more like vegetables that weren't cooked and stuff like that, right? But the basis of evolution stems from the fact that we have to have a number of conditions that happens.
Right, and we have to adapt to those conditions, right?
Right, but one of the conditions is separation. The second the plane was invented and the boats started going over from continent to continent, the possibility of evolution diminished. Right? We don't have sexual selection anymore. Right. So sexual selection is like a peacock who has the feathers. Like the male peacock is the one with all those feathers. And
it's usually regionalized too, right?
It's
like those are the only ones in that area.
Right. So
let's pass on those attributes.
Put it this way, right? Evolution has to happen. Like let's say you have a trait. So let's actually take Magic Johnson for example.
Yeah.
He has a trait that his HIV doesn't evolve to AIDS. Whatever anyone's opinion about that is, it's something genetic in there, right? Mm-hmm. So that trait has to become so profound that it saves millions of people around the world.
Right.
Right. But that's to also say that people that mate, that AIDS has to be a large killer.
Right.
Right. So now with COVID, let's say that I develop immunity COVID, right? That would mean that everyone who doesn't have that immunity to COVID pretty much has to die, and I have to go ahead and mate with someone who also has that ability, right?
Okay.
So that ability has to progress.
In other words, the odds are much
it's almost
impossible
gone.
Because one, there's almost 8 billion people, and two, like you said, we have airplanes and boats.
I mean,
some Portuguese guy like my grandfather come over here.
It's right. It's all gone.
Everybody lives in this country too.
That one little trait is going to get flushed out of the system so fast. It's insane. So you think how many years of humans have we actually recorded? You know, it's been obviously over 2,000 years.
Yeah.
It was back in BC, which can be at least 6,000 or 7,000 years up till now.
Yeah.
There hasn't been any documented growth in humans aside from. You can say, oh, height has changed. Well, height changed because people are living longer and healthier.
Yeah, but and how's it changed? People are getting taller.
That's the idea of it.
I think it's taller males are more attractive.
Right.
Like there will be probably certain things that definitely, like, I don't know. I feel like there are certain attributes that shine brighter than others.
Yeah.
But that might be the contrast too, that might fight certain things like intelligence and intellectuality, because if people are going based off of looks,
right,
that how you look has nothing to do with your intellectual capacity.
So that's sexual selection at its finest, right? Now with the appendix thing, what they did was they tested that theory too.
Oh,
what
really?
They did was they actually they took rats in because they test everything on rats, right?
Yeah.
They cut their tails off.
Poor
They're
rats.
like, well,
shout out to the rats. Thank you.
They
Humanity sincerely.
I know,
thanks.
right? All the little white rats with the red eyes.
Yeah, dude. I had a pet rat. I don't know. Me and all my friends when we were little kids, when I lived in Missouri, because they were so cheap because they're food for snakes.
Right.
So you can buy one for like a nickel.
I had a pet fish, and looking back, I feel so bad about confining that fish to one little fish tank. I named it Fishy. Yeah. That was the fish.
Rats were cool because you could just let them run around.
Right. My mom would kill me if I did that.
Oh yeah, my grandma would not have it. I took care of this 6-foot boa. I've lived with my grandma for most of my life. She would be crying when she saw it. Oh, please take that off your shoulders. Like she'd be like just crying.
That's crazy.
She's scared.
So with these rats, they cut their tails off to say, well, you don't have a use for the tail anymore. Let's see what happens generation to come.
Yeah.
They kept growing tails. Tails. So they multiplied.
How long do they conduct that though?
They genetically modified the speed of it.
Time?
The length never
years?
shrunk.
Yeah.
After generation, the length never shrunk. Now another theory was like, oh, giraffes just
I was gonna say giraffes
necks.
and like horses are good examples. It took like 100,000 years for those changes.
So they're saying that changed because they needed to grow, not because they didn't need it. Now let's say if you put a giraffe in. So here's one thing I'll tell you. You can never devolve. You can only evolve, right? So you can never say, okay, so larger trees, giraffes need to grow a larger neck. Shorter trees, well, now giraffes need a smaller neck. That will never happen.
Yeah.
Instead, what could happen is instead of being a shorter neck, because that's devolving, what they'll do is they might bend the neck. So there might be
there'll be a hump.
It'll be different, right?
Yeah.
You'll never, and this is something that I brought up to my bio teacher, and I said, hey, well, what about this? Like, what if they don't need this anymore? They're like, no, you can never go down a path. You can only change the path. I was like, that fucking blew my mind. I was like, wait, we can never devolve. She's like, right, you can only evolve to you can only go in a circle. You can't go back down, right? So I was like, holy shit, that's crazy.
No
so
kidding.
That's unfortunately, so now, like I was saying with evolution, we're just too much in contact with anyone else to be secluded from anything, where an Eskimo might mate with someone from Africa where you have completely different, gender, or not genders, but characteristics.
Yeah.
And now you just started flushing all that out because it's a melting pot. And I know the term melting pot isn't used anymore.
Yep.
Because you let go of all your previous stuff. But with genetics now, that's what it is. Yeah. You're never going to evolve.
It's a constant. Everybody's in connection. And I think that actually really kind of secures that theory too. Because if you think about it, from a physical standpoint, we no longer grow, but from an intellectual standpoint, we can, because now we know what everybody's thinking,
right? And
we can find that middle ground, or unfortunately, some of us will seek confirmation bias and sort of be stuck in our ways.
Yeah.
But with all the availability of information, you can kind of always see, or at least have the opportunity to be explained.
Right.
For something to be explained a little better, like the multi-gender thing. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people might not see that to be true. There's a lot of people out there like, oh, there's still just two, but maybe, like you said, there's a possibility for more or somewhere in between.
And, that was just one example of many, many, many that I know, and there's probably a lot more that I don't know of. But it comes down to this, right? Like pretty much what we said in the beginning. You have the knowledge you're given.
Yeah.
It's your choice what to mold that knowledge into. Now, if you go ahead and take what I told you and say, okay, well, I can go ahead and change my mind based on this.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to take what you said, look it up myself, and actually go ahead and try to educate myself on these different genders, and then make a proper opinion about it.
Yeah.
Then you are a logical person.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to sit there and say, well, my mama told me that, then fine, you can do that, but just know that's exactly what ignorance is. That's the prime definition of ignorance, and you are.
And that's where that pride comes in. That's where that ego comes in. That's where you get weighed down, and
it's okay to say you're
keep
wrong.
yourself stupid.
Yeah, it's okay to say what you thought originally was wrong.
But when you let that go, you're pretty much lubricating yourself in so many different different ways to keep going.
How many times between just our business itself have there been many different thoughts, different?
Oh yeah. I've looked at that, the way not only the business has evolved and the way we've kind of, for the first 6 months we're running full steam, breathing down each other's necks.
And that's how it had tension. To be too. Yeah, there was absolute tension. There still is tension.
If you're doing business and there isn't stress, you don't give a shit. Yeah. And you're probably not, and the business probably isn't going anywhere. Think about how everything grows. Think about how even a muscle grows, even just on a basic level. It has to be put under strain. It has to be used, and it has to overcome those stresses.
Right.
If I were to gauge my, what's the word? Tolerance to stress now versus when we started, it's a whole nother ball. Like a lot less things kind of get on my. You learn how to pick your battles, and you learn how to be okay with things. Because at the end of the day, we're sharing all something between Matt, yourself, and myself, something that's very important to us.
Yeah.
And now, of course, our other coaches, because we're all sort of a family. We work together as a family, and we all eat out of the same refrigerator, off the same table. You know what I mean?
We got very lucky though with the three of us that we don't all. So this isn't to put anyone down, right?
Yeah.
But our personalities are different enough where we're not all three like just very like gung ho, like straight shooters. Like you're very, very calm. Like you seem like a very patient guy. And then I'm the exact opposite where I'm kind of like jumping like this is the way that it fucking needs to be, you know?
I'll say it right now. There's a lot of that's so true what you just said there. Because
if you had three people in business that had my personality, it would not work.
I think we were different in
exactly what we needed.
Really good ways, and the same in a lot of really good ways.
Right.
Business savviness, we all kind of get it. None of us are really like think about how easy it was for us all to understand that we should be saving more money than we take.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
There was a little bit of a debate on that originally.
Yeah. But still more was we were able to maintain. Like I just sort of comparing that to, I know a lot of people who would see these numbers are, and in any business, don't feed your pocket. Whoever you are out there, and if you have a business, it's the business that always comes first, and that's something we didn't have to discuss too much. Right. It was understood.
And look what it did.
And look what it did for us now. We're fine.
Fucking pretty as shit.
You know what I mean? Like the apocalypse has come, and we're beyond that. We've dealt with it. You know what I mean? We're not salty. We've gotten, when winners lose, they win. You know what I mean? We lost in the spurt of these months, but we've gained something in that time.
Yeah,
and we will come back even stronger.
And it really shows it, like we talked about that golf course. After 80 years, you can't survive 3 months.
Yeah,
they definitely fed themselves.
Oh yeah, and I know plenty, especially in fitness. Everybody I feel like who owns a fitness establishment usually is pretty like in it for the cash. Because it's a lot of passive income without distributing product.
Right. So what we're talking about now is that there was this. I'm not going to name the place, but there was a facility that was open for 80 years, and after these 3 months of being closed, which is kind of off season for golf, anyways, right?
No way, those guys are closing.
Well, that's what they stated. They went ahead and pointed blame. So they tried to prematurely open. And they got shut down, and they went ahead on Facebook and they said, well, the town of, where their establishment is doesn't care about us. The police here doesn't care about us, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And we're going to be shutting down because we can't sustain our business. Well, you were open for 80 years.
Yeah. Dude,
You're telling me you
seriously.
haven't saved up enough money to last 3
You know what happened?
months?
That'll happen because the last 80 years have been pretty smooth sailing. There's been no wars, no epidemics, pandemics.
They're probably like, oh, this will never happen.
And there's been like recessions, but recessions sort of happen on like a stock public level. If you're on like a private business,
golf will never go down.
No,
as long as there's old people in the world.
Yeah, and people. Yeah, exactly.
And even I play once in a while.
Yeah.
Not any good, but
people from our area. I mean, I don't know how many people.
Oh, everyone golfs. Everyone. We have. So it's like, you guys banked on the fact that you'd be sustained for the rest of your life. However, here you are and you're struggling, and then here we are sitting 8 months out before the pandemic hit. And we're like, well, shit, even if anything, we're looking to buy a second gym within under a year of buying this place.
Might be easier now. Yeah, if anybody's looking for property out there, it's probably a good time to buy it. Like, not now, but like probably in a couple months.
Right? Yeah.
Because, I mean, think about how many people are probably going to be getting out of something or selling their property. I don't even know.
As much as it sucks.
Or losing their properties.
Yeah. As much as it sucks, I just hope that, for some people that this pandemic actually pans out to be a positive. Because for us, it might actually end up being a positive.
Yeah, I think it will, because we'll know how to make it a positive, and we're young. See, that's one thing I always say about owning a business. It's that I say it takes a young man's energy and an older man's mind.
Yeah. Or
woman, doesn't matter, or anything. Right. You know what I mean? But the point is that we're right in that prime spot because we're sort of approaching our 30s. I'm like right on the cusp.
Yeah, dude, I feel the same way, and I'm 5 years away. But
you know what I mean?
Shit.
And so we're in a good spot. None of us have huge responsibilities. We're a rare couple who don't have kids. Most people already have kids.
I know. Seeing these people 20 years old with 3 kids makes me not want to have kids.
Yeah.
My sister just had twins, though.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way. How's that?
Oh, man, it's so stressful. I told you my nephew was just in the hospital the other day.
That's right.
So
what did they figure out? Did they find out?
Yeah, it was just reflux. It was just reflux, which is normal. But
talk about a terrifying time for your child to have breathing problems. Like
right.
COVID.
Exactly.
It's fucking COVID.
Right away.
Like, that's what it's got to be. Like, yeah. And so many people are probably in that boat. They go to the hospital. And it's so funny because it's like, oh, it's just the flu. But it's like that can be just as bad depending on how your body's dealing with it. Right?
And especially with a newborn, you're 2 weeks out and you already have to go to the hospital for a breathing issue. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, that makes me scared to have a child.
Dude, birth is dicey. I mean, I know plenty of people who've had a kid and the kid had to be on all these things, and you never know what might happen with that, or like how many people die giving birth.
I know that's a
and
my sister
gamble.
had a C-section too, which is even worse, because she had the twins.
Yeah.
But now I know that my mom has been actually sleeping at her house to help the nights that she's not working.
That's nice of her.
And I'll call my mom in the mornings. I'm like, hey, how's it going? She's like, oh, I'm just just going to bed. I'm like, why? What's going on? She's like, I slept there last night. The kids didn't sleep all night. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, why? She's doing that because my sister had the C-section.
Yeah.
She still has the stitches in, so she can't really lift and she can't be moving around too much. But I'm like, Mom, just make sure you keep that same energy in case I ever have kids.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. You never know, man. Well, let's wrap this up. We're already actually an hour and 16 minutes, man. That was fun, right? Blew by.
Fast.
Blew by.
Shit.
So, guys, hey, if you want to check out Anup stuff, I'm going to leave a link to his Instagram in the section below. And if you guys want to follow and stay up to date, I'll also leave a link to his Instagram below. So it's Anup Corp.
Yeah. Yep.
At Instagram, so it's just ANUPCROP, and then
CORP.
CORP. What did I say?
Corp. CRP. So it's AN as in Nancy, UP as in Peter, Corp. CORP.
Show them some love, folks. And Instagram, you can also check out localsonly.ig, and that'll bring you to our Instagram to stay up to date. All right. Take care, guys. We'll see ya.